Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my new build video for the heavy attack rotation of the stamina decay for Morrowind. Let's start with the basics. This is a build for stamina decays and I'm a Khajiit. Why Khajiit? Khajiit is the best race for the heavy attack build since we don't have any sustain issues anyway, so we profit from the crit a lot. Second best would be something like Redguard for the max stamina or Wood Elf for the recovery and max stamina. Every other class like the Orc or the Argonia are fine too, but yeah, Khajiit is probably the best you can get at the moment in my opinion. We sit at a very high critical weapon rate because of the Khajiit passive. Over 80% is really high. And we are a vampire for the vampire passive. Let me show you. This one, we get 10% magicka and stamina recovery when we are in vamp stage 2 or higher. Alright. We also do use the Thief Mondo Stone and max life and max stamina buff food. Let me show you the buff food. This one. What you can also do is use this buff food for a little more stamina recovery if you can't manage to sustain this build, but it actually is pretty balanced, so you should be able to sustain it. However, if you can't, then use this buff food. You will lose a little bit of max health and max stamina, but the resource management becomes so much easier. If you use this, then I highly recommend on putting some points into health. Like I said, 7 to 12 points, something like that. Okay, let's go over the skills. We have the Venomous Claw. This is our best damage over time skill. The Rending Slash, our second best. Noxious Breath is here for the armor debuff. If you run solo, this is a very nice skill. If you are in a group play with a tank who will use the melee taunt on the boss, then you probably don't need this skill. What you can do then is swap it out with this one. And this is actually only because of the weapon damage buff, 20 seconds for 20%. Yeah, it's pretty nice. This build tries to be viable without potions. So if you want to use potions, then you of course don't need the skill either. But potions become more expensive this patch, so yeah, I tried to make this build as cheap as possible. Okay, next is the rearming trap. We have this here for the minor force buff for 10 seconds. 12 seconds, because the trap is 6 seconds and it rearms itself for another 6 seconds. So we have 12 seconds of 10% minor force. And we have the Expert Hunter for the crit buff. You can get this buff and the one from this from potions too, like this potions of weapon damage. But as I said, they are quite expensive and we don't really need them for this build, since this is a beginner guide only, so yeah. Why not Morph? Because this skill is only here for the crit buff and the Morphs don't offer anything else, so we can just save the skill point. Alright, on the Boba we are using the Poison Injection, Endless Hail, Caltrops. Those Caltrops are really nice at the moment. You have the choice between the ones with the impact damage and with the longer duration. Choose the impact damage because our rotation is so short that we can cast them every rotation. If you would choose the longer ones, then you would have to cast it every second rotation and would have a longer downtime between those skills. So get the ones with the impact damage. Then the Molten Armaments. This is a key skill of our build because it buffs our heavy attacks by 40%, which is insane. And the Flames of Oblivion is here again for the weapon critical buff, and we also use it as an active. Now the thing is, if you only have one of the skills, like Flames of Oblivion or Evil Hunter or Expert Hunter, whatever, on one of your skill bars, like we would replace this one like this, and we would only have the crit buff here and try to get the crit over the potion, then there is a bug that it won't work and the crit from the potion would be erased after every weapon swap. So make sure to have either 2 times Flames of Oblivion on each bar or 2 times Expert Hunter, like this, Flames of Oblivion on both bars, or Evil Hunter on both bars, or none of them, or one of each. But not one of those skills on one bar and none of the other on the other bar. Sorry if my English is confusing at this point. Okay, this would work, this wouldn't, okay? And as the ultimate we have the Standard of Might. This is a pretty good ultimate, but if you are on a raid setup and you know you are fighting a boss with adds and you have the possibility to hit 3 or more adds with every ultimate, then you should definitely use the Shooting Star. It's the morph of the Meteor. Why? Because the ultimate regeneration you get from the impact of the Shooting Star will fill your ulti so fast that you can really get more ultimates going off in one fight, which is an overall higher DPS than the Standard of Might. Okay? It also has flame damage, which isn't that bad because we have passives SDK which are increasing our flame damage. So it works really good if you can hit 3 or more targets with one ultimate. However, if you can't, then get the Standard of Might. Alright, that's about the skill setup. As you can see, the stats are quite okay for everything, for 4-man content, for solo play and for trials, with 16k health and over 33,900 max stamina. Yeah, let's go to our gear. This is a beginner guide and therefore it should be really cheap. That's what my goal was. So I am using a crafted set called the Night Mother's Gaze for the armor penetration. We use 5 pieces of this, 5 armor pieces. So we have the 5-piece effect ready at all times at every bar, like on dual wheel bar and on bow bar. And we have the Hunting's Rage, 4 pieces. 2 armor pieces and 2 weapons, or 1 bow. So on the bow bar we have only 3 pieces active, on the dual wield we have 4 pieces. Okay, the question is, why do we have 5 Night Mother's Gaze and not 5 Huntings, like the other way around? Because armor penetration is better than max weapon damage in the setups nowadays. That's the simple answer. If it's not really clear for you, then leave me a comment and I try to talk about it, why it is this way. What you can see is that my gear is only at purple quality and I used purple max stamina enchantments. It's all divines to buff our Thief Mundostone, and we have agility gear, agility jewelry. It's all with weapon damage enchantment. You could also get like a stamina recovery or a reduced stamina cost glyph on one if you have sustain issues, but only one should be really enough. So either regen or cost reduction on one of those things. Make sure they are with the max stamina trait, the jewelry. Every other thing wouldn't help you really. Okay, so basically this is the setup. I forgot to talk about the weapon enchantments. We have poison damage, as this is buffed by our CPs, and we have max weapon damage On the Boba we have flame damage. We use fire damage on this one because we can't get the poison damage on both bars. And flame damage, like I said when I talked about the meteor, is buffed by our passives too. So we don't lose too much on the flame damage. Okay, we also have one dagger and one axe. We got the axe for the chance of the bleeding. And since we are always doing heavy attacks and both weapons are going to deal damage, the proc of this weapon is really high and the chance for the weapon proc is high too. So this is about the gear. Let's go into champion points. For the defensive champion points, we have a lot in Ironclad, which reduces your damage from direct damage sources, and some points into Mage Spell Shield. We have a lot into Sturdy and Elemental Defender 2 and Thick-Skinned. This setup is for the new trial and for Maw of Lorcash. If you run in, like, let's say Helra, then you probably don't need Thick-Skinned and split the points to those two. Champion system in this patch is a bit confusing because, like you see, we have two numbers after the comma. So 16.02, which is totally crap from Zenimax, because since the update we only have jump points. What does that mean? So if you hit 16%, then you get 16%. If you hit 16.3%, then you don't get 16.3%, you get 16% until you get to 17%, okay? So every champion points between 16 and 17 are completely wasted. That's why we only try to hit the 12 as good as possible. That's why we have the 56 on those two. To the green ones, same issue here with the jump points. We have Warlord, Tenacity for our resource management on the heavy attacks, Mooncalf for the regen, and I got Shadow Ward for the block in the new trial. You have to block a lot or you'll get stunned a lot. And we get Treasure Hunter. Now it gets interesting on the blue ones. We have Master at Arms. We have Mighty, Piercing, Precise and Thaumaturge. The numbers we choose here were calculated with the tool. I will put the tool into the description of the video. If you have questions how to use the tool to calculate the optimal CP distribution, leave me a comment and I will probably do a video about it. But for now, I guess you have to believe me or not. Okay, let's come to the damage test with this skill setup. So as you might remember from my last video, my goal is to get cheap gear and have like 20 to 25k DPS with it. If I can manage this, then I achieved my personal goal for this video. Okay. Let's start with the rotation. So we buff with Molten Armament and Flames of Oblivion. Then we do a heavy attack, Endless Hail, Caltrops, Poison Injection. Then we apply every single damage over time. After that, we have to reapply those dots. Then we start with the actual heavy attack rotation with heavy attack, Venomous Claw, heavy attack, Rending Slash, and so on. I will try to talk through the rotation with numbers. So when I say 1, then I mean heavy attack 1 is heavy attack Venomous Claw, sorry. Heavy attack 2 would then be a heavy attack with the Rending Slash. So I would suggest to place your skills like I did, because I prioritized them, like what I have to keep up at the higher percentage. Since this is our best dot, we focus on get a really good uptime of the Venomous Claw. So the rotation I'm going to do is, like I said, the first two rotations are a bit messy, I have to say. And after that it becomes quite clear. We do heavy attack 1, heavy attack 2, heavy attack 3, heavy attack 4. Weapon swap. Light attack 1, light attack 2, light attack 3. Weapon swap. And the same again. Every time we have Flames of Oblivion running out, then we recast it before we weapon swap after the 3, you know? Light attack 1, light attack 2, light attack 3. And now we have to recast it, then we do a light attack 5 and weapon swap. Same with the 4. Now what you have to take care of is that we don't recast it if it's not totally done yet. Like we want it to run out before we recast it, or we will miss DPS. Molten Armaments is kind of the same. We want to recast it if it's below 7 seconds. Anything else, we don't recast it. This is because we need about 7 seconds for this rotation, and since we only do heavy attacks on this bar, we don't need it to run on this bar. So the perfect timing would be if it runs out right when we are done with the rotation and about to weapon swap, but it's also okay to have it run out after we finished our dual wield bar and are going to the bow bar. If we swap to the bow bar and it runs out in just that moment, then it's fine. Then we just keep the rotation and cast it and cancel it with the weapon swap. Since we don't need the heavy attack buff on the bow bar, obviously. Okay, so again what I want to start with is the buffs. Then the Endless Hail with the light attack, Caltrops light attack, Poison Injection, weapon swap. Then I apply all of the dots, all 4 dots, with light attacks between, because we want to get it going before we start with the actual rotation. I go back to the bow bar, reapply the dots. My ultimate will come ready, so we get this. And then we start with the actual heavy attack rotation, with the heavy attack 1, heavy attack 2, and so on. Okay, let me talk you through this. So, buffs up. Endless Hail, Caltrops, Poison Injection, weapon swap. Get those going with light attacks in between every dot. Reapply those ones. Ultimate on that. Now heavy attack 1, heavy attack 2, heavy attack 3, heavy attack 4. Weapon swap, light attack 1, light attack 2, light attack 3. Weapon swap, heavy attack 1, heavy attack 2, heavy attack 3, heavy attack 4. Weapon swap, light attack 1, light attack 3, sorry I messed it up. Recast buffs, heavy attack 1, heavy attack 2, heavy attack 3, heavy attack 4. Weapon swap 2, light attack 1, light attack 3. Weapon swap 1, heavy attack 2, heavy attack 3, heavy attack 4, weapon swap 2, light attack 1, light attack 3, light attack 4, weapon swap 1, heavy attack 2, heavy attack 3, heavy attack 4. Now we get the ultimate. 2, light attack 1, light attack 3, rebuff, weapon swap, heavy attack 1, heavy attack 2, heavy attack 3, heavy attack 4, weapon swap 2, light attack 1, light attack 3, weapon swap, heavy attack 1, heavy attack 2, heavy attack 3, heavy attack 4, weapon swap, light attack 1, light attack 3, recast it, weapon swap 1, 2, 3, 4, and we are done. Okay, so what do we have here? We have 25k DPS, almost 26, which is the goal I wanted to reach. So I achieved my personal goal for the video. Yeah, as you can see, the uptimes of the buffs could be better, but ain't that bad. Over 70% is okay. This is a quite simple rotation. It would be even better with higher uptimes if we don't have to use the noxious breath. Then we would have more time and could reapply the dots faster. So in group play, just leave the skill out. However, this is for the 630 CP with low budget gear. Now I will change my gear and show you how it is with best in slot gear for this rotation. Okay, so now I'm done with changing my gear. Let me show you. We use the Krug, but any other monster set would do the same, like Slime Craw, Belly Dread or Krug. One of those three are totally fine. We use Krug here because of the armor pen. It's still the best in my opinion. Nowadays the tanks in trials can't run Alkosh anymore. Like in the new trial they need to stack HP. So the extra pen is really valuable. But yeah, for solo play, 4-man dungeons, it's not that needed. You can run any of the three mentioned monster sets. We use 3 pieces of the Vicious Ophidian for the 5% damage buff, the Minor Slayer. And we run 5 pieces of the Twice-Fanged Serpent for the armor penetration. As weapons, we use the agility weapons for max stamina, and as you see we have the poison enchantment and the weapon damage enchantment. Best in slot would actually be 1 axe and 1 dagger, but I don't have 1 axe, so I use 2 daggers. Especially if you are Khajiit, then you don't profit from the critical rate bonus from the second dagger as much as another race, so the axe would be better for Khajiit, even better for Khajiit than for, like, say, a red guard. For a red guard, 2 daggers would be fine too. And we have the bow of the Maelstrom Arena, because this is just fucking broken. The Endless Hail will hit so hard, it's just insane. However, this is the setup, and let's see how much we can get. I have to load my ultimate before, and the time I will have to, while I'm loading my ultimate, I will show you some tricks. Watch out for the heavy attack animation like I'm doing now. It's pretty slow, and yeah, you know, if you do a heavy attack, let the rotation run out and then do the skill, it's pretty slow. Now watch when I do the heavy attack, you just check for the animation. Just look at the animation. If I do the heavy attack and press the button right from the skill, like Venomous Claw, right when I'm doing already the heavy attack. So I smash the button and it immediately comes off with when the heavy attack is done. You see? Just when the animation of the heavy attack started, you can smash the button like you see on the edge, and it will be fucking fast, okay? That's really important to get high DPS. So now I've loaded enough ultimate and will show you the rotation without potions. So keep in mind we are missing the 20% weapon damage buff on this twice, and watch out what kind of DPS we still get. Okay, buffs and same rotation as before. Now we start with the heavy attacks. Alright, I messed it up at some points, but as the first video, this rotation is beginner friendly, so faults are not that big of a deal, or big of an issue. We have pass of almost 35k, which is not the best you can get, but for a beginner it would be quite nice to achieve those numbers. Like I said, this skill is really bad for the rotation because it will cost so much uptimes of your important damage over times, and the skill itself has such a low tooltip damage compared to the others. It's just not that good in my opinion. It just is for the armor debuff on the DPS target. So if you run in a group, make sure to get this out and use either this one for more survivability and AoE damage, or this one for the major brutality buff, or even this one, the Steel Tornado Morph, for high AoE damage without protective abilities. Okay, that's all for the moment. I hope you enjoyed the video. It is actually the same as before, updated for the Morrowind patch. And yeah, I hope you get some good results. Leave me a comment what you liked about the video, what you don't like. Please have respect when telling me it, so I can work on it to create better content. It would be nice if you can give me a thumbs up or even a subscribe, and cheers, have a nice day.